Hello, my friends. Welcome to the Tommy Podcast on English Every Day. My name is Tommy, and today we're going to explore a topic that touches every one of us. Free will. Big word, right? But don't worry. I'm not here to give a philosophy class. I'm here to sit with you like a friend and share stories about choices, mistakes, discipline, and the small victories that shape who we are. First of all, thank you for pressing play again. You could be listening to music right now, watching videos, sleeping, but you chose to be here with me. And that choice matters. It really does. Every week I read your comments, and they remind me that I'm not alone talking into a microphone. I'm walking with friends from all over the world. Yesterday I read a message from Sophia. She wrote, "Tommy, I listen to you on the bus every morning, and sometimes I answer your questions out loud. People look at me funny, but I don't care." Sophia, if you're listening now, I love that. The world needs more people brave enough to answer a podcast on the bus. And before we start, let me remind you of something. The little red subscribe button is still shy. It looks at me like, why don't they click me? Poor thing. So if you haven't done it yet, go ahead and make that button happy. Give it a little love. Now, let's get into our topic. When I was younger, I thought free will meant doing whatever I wanted. If I wanted to stay up all night, I did. If I wanted to eat chocolate for breakfast, I did. If I wanted to skip homework, I skipped. At the time, that felt like freedom. But later, I realized something. That wasn't free will. It was just impulse. And impulse can feel good for a moment, but often leaves you empty. Have you ever felt that? That moment when you say, "I'm free, I can do anything." But the next morning, you wake up tired, regretful, maybe even stuck with the consequences? That's not freedom. That's just reaction. I remember one morning in particular. My alarm rang at 6:30. I looked at my phone and thought, I have no choice. I can't get up. My body won't move. Have you felt that too? Like the bed has a superpower, stronger than your will? But here's the truth I learned later. I did have a choice. The problem wasn't the bed. The problem was me forgetting that free will is not about what you feel like doing. It's about what you decide to do. Let's practice together right now. Imagine me standing in front of the bed, saying these words, I choose to get up. Say it out loud with me. I choose to get up. Do you feel the difference? Because the moment you say that, you remember that you are not a slave to feelings. You are the one who chooses, and that's where I want to begin this journey today. Free will is not a complicated philosophy hidden in books. It's in the everyday moment when you choose action over comfort, growth over numbness, honesty over escape. Some people say, we don't have free will. Everything is programmed by our brain, by society, by genetics. And maybe, in some cosmic way, that's true. But here's the thing. Even if I don't control the universe, I still control whether I hit snooze or get up. I still control whether I open a book or scroll TikTok. And those small choices shape my life much more than the stars or my DNA. Amr once had a friend, Marcos, who always told me, I'm not disciplined. That's just who I am. And every time he said that, I saw him giving up his free will. Because discipline is not a personality. Discipline is a decision. One morning, I challenged him. I asked, what if you told yourself, I choose discipline. He laughed. He thought it was silly, but he tried. And little by little he realized he wasn't doomed to be the lazy one. He had power. And that's what I want you to feel too. You have power. Maybe not over everything, but enough to change your tomorrow. Enough to rewrite your story. So as we go further in this episode, I'll share with you more of those little moments when I thought I had no choice, but actually did. I'll show you how language itself can remind you of your power. And I invite you to practice small phrases with me, to train your brain to remember. You are not helpless. But for now, hold on to this truth. Free will does not mean doing whatever you feel like. Free will means choosing what matters, even when it's hard. I remember one night in college. I had a test the next morning. Books open on my desk, highlighter in my hand. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. My friends were outside laughing, calling me, "Come on, just one drink, let's go." And you know how dangerous those words, can be, right? Just one. Just 5 minutes. Just a quick look at Instagram. We all know that just one usually turns into hours. In that moment, I felt stuck. If I said yes, I knew I'd stay out late, and my test would suffer. If I said no, I was afraid of missing the fun, the memories, the feeling of belonging. Have you been there too? When both options feel like they take something away from you? That's when people say, "I have no choice." But the truth is, we do. That night, I paused for a moment and asked myself, what do I really want tomorrow morning? Do I want a good grade or a hangover? And little by little I realized free will is not about choosing between pain and pleasure. It's about choosing long-term meaning over short-term impulse. So I said no. I stayed. And you know what? The world didn't end. My friends had fun. I did well on the test. And in the end, I felt stronger. Here's the secret. Free will often feels boring. Nobody claps when you wake up early. Nobody gives you a medal for drinking water instead of soda. Nobody congratulates you for turning off Netflix and opening your notebook. But you notice, inside, you feel a shift. You are building something invisible, yet real. And later, it shows in your results, your confidence, your peace. I like to think of choices as paths in a forest. At the beginning, they look the same. Two small trails side by side. No big difference. But after a mile, the distance is huge. One path leads to a beautiful mountain view. The other, to a swamp. Your daily choices are those first small steps. Harmless today, transforming tomorrow. Let's do a quick exercise. Imagine you are at a crossroads. One path is the easy habit. The other is the hard but meaningful choice. Whisper to yourself, "I always have a choice." Repeat with me now. I always have a choice. Doesn't it feel lighter? It reminds you that you are never completely trapped. Even if you can't change the whole situation, you can always change your response. I remember another time when this became clear. I had just moved to a new city. I didn't know anyone. I felt lonely, and every day after work, I just wanted to stay home. My mind kept saying, "You have no choice. You're tired. Stay home." But one night, I decided to test that thought. I told myself, I choose connection. So I pushed myself to walk to a small English group at the library. My hands were sweaty, my heart was racing, but I went. And there I met Julia. She became one of my closest friends. One night, one choice, and that whole season of my life changed. That's what fascinates me. Free will is not usually about big dramatic moments. It's about small steps, saying hello, getting up, turning off the screen, sending a message. These small acts carry so much weight because they open new doors, and language helps us. Words are like keys. When you say out loud, "I choose," you remind yourself you're not just reacting. You are deciding. Instead of saying, "I can't," you can say, "I choose not to." Instead of saying, "I have to," you can say, "I choose to." That simple change is the difference between being a prisoner and being free. So let's practice one more. Imagine you're tired after a long day, but you promised yourself you would study a little. Say with me now, "I choose to learn." Again, "I choose to learn." Simple, but powerful, because every time you say it, you remind your brain that you are not controlled only by feelings. I want you to think about this. When was the last time you told yourself you had no choice, but later realized you did? Maybe it was something small, like choosing to take a walk instead of lying down. Maybe it was something big, like changing jobs or saying no to a toxic relationship. Think about that moment. Write it down, if you can. The more you notice, the more you strengthen that muscle. Because free will is like a muscle. If you never use it, it feels weak. But if you practice, it grows. And the more you choose, the easier it becomes to choose. In the next part, we'll explore what happens when we forget our free will. When we let life run on autopilot. When we say yes without thinking, or no without courage. And how to wake up from that. But for now, hold on to this phrase. You always have a choice. There is something that scares me more than failure. It's living on autopilot. You know that feeling? When the day starts and ends, and you don't even remember what happened in between. You wake up, scroll, work, eat, scroll again, sleep, and then repeat. No choice, no spark. Just routine moving the body like a robot. I went through a season like that. I remember waking up and the first thing I touched was my phone. Not to call someone, not to learn, but to scroll. And suddenly, 20 minutes were gone, then 30. And I thought, I don't even want to be here. But I can't stop. Have you ever felt that? Not joy, not pain, just numbness. That's the danger of autopilot. It steals your free will without you even noticing. Let me give you a picture. Imagine you're driving a car. Autopilot takes control. At first, it feels safe, easy, relaxing. But then the road changes. A curve, a storm, a red light. And autopilot doesn't react in time. That's when you realize, if you don't hold the wheel, you crash. Life is the same. If you don't hold the wheel, circumstances will decide for you. And that's why awareness is so important. Free will only exists when you are awake, when you are present. Otherwise, you're just reacting like a program. One time I met a guy in a cafe who told me something I'll never forget. He said, "I feel like I don't make choices anymore. Life makes them for me." His words broke my heart. But maybe you've felt that too. Like life is happening to you, not through you. But here's the secret. The moment you notice that thought, you're already waking up. Because noticing is the first step to choosing again. I like to test myself with small experiments. For example, one day I realized I always took the same way to work. Same street, same cafe, same seat on the bus. My body was on autopilot. So, I told myself, today, I choose different. I walked down another street. I entered a new cafe. I sat by the window instead of the corner, and you know what? I felt alive. It was a small choice, but it reminded me I wasn't stuck. I could still turn the wheel. Let's try something together right now. Think of a small routine you do every day without thinking. Maybe it's the way you check your phone first thing in the morning. Maybe it's the place where you sit in class. Maybe it's the order in which you eat. Now say this with me. I can choose different. Repeat. I can choose different. Doesn't that open a little window in your mind? Here's the danger of forgetting free will. When we stop choosing, we also stop growing. Because growth requires discomfort. And autopilot avoids discomfort at all costs. So you stay in the same job, the same habits, the same limits. Safe, but empty. Let me share another memory. A friend once told me, I don't say no to people. It's easier to say yes. She thought that was kindness. But over time, she realized she was exhausted, drained, full of things she didn't even want to do. She wasn't living her life. She was living the life other people decided for her. That's what happens when you let autopilot take control of your answers. So I asked her to practice one sentence. It was simple, but powerful. No, thank you. That's it. At first, it felt impossible. Her body trembled. Her voice was soft. But little by little, she found her strength. And with every no, she discovered a bigger yes. A yes to her time, to her health, to her dreams. Maybe that's what you need too. To remember that saying no is also a choice. Free will is not only about saying yes to opportunities. It's about saying no to distractions, no to what doesn't serve you, no to what keeps you small. Let's practice right now. Imagine someone asks you to do something you really don't want to do. Breathe, smile, and say with me, no, thank you. Once more, no, thank you. Feels good, right? Because it's polite, clear, and free. I want you to see how language is your ally. Every time you say, I choose, or I can choose different, or no, thank you, you are waking up your free will. You are reminding yourself that you are alive, present, capable. Autopilot may feel safe, but it's not real life. Real life is when you hold the wheel, even if the road is hard. Because at least it's your road. So here's a reflection before we move on. Where in your life are you living on autopilot right now? Where are you saying yes without thinking, no without courage, or nothing at all because you feel numb? Just identify one area and tell yourself, I can choose different. In the next part, we'll talk about hope, about how to use free will not just to avoid mistakes, but to build joy, connection, and purpose. Because free will is not only about saying no, it's about saying yes to the life you want. We've already talked about impulse, about boring but powerful choices, and about autopilot. Now it's time to talk about hope. Because free will is not only about avoiding mistakes or dropping bad habits, it's also about building joy. I want you to imagine something. Picture a garden. Every day you have a choice: to plant a seed, to water the soil, to pull out weeds, or to do nothing. If you do nothing, the garden will not stay empty. Weeds will grow anyway. That's how life works. If you don't choose, something else chooses for you. But when you use your free will to plant with intention, to water with consistency, little by little you create a garden that reflects who you are. One of my favorite memories is a morning when I didn't want to move at all. I was tired, lazy, unmotivated. But I whispered to myself, I choose joy today. And instead of staying in bed, I went outside. The air was cold, the sky was pink with sunrise, and in that moment, I felt alive. One choice, one step, and the whole day changed. That's what free will can do. Let's practice this together. Whisper with me. I choose joy today. Again, I choose joy today. Can you feel the power? It's not a promise for the rest of your life. It's just for today. And that's enough. Once I met someone in a language class who told me, I'm too old to learn English. She said it with sadness, like the decision was already made. But then I asked, what if you told yourself, I choose to learn, even now? She smiled nervously and said it out loud. Her eyes lit up. In that moment, she gave herself permission to grow again. That's the beauty of free will. It doesn't erase your past. It creates your future. So here's my challenge for you this week. Choose one small area of your life where you've been on autopilot. Maybe it's your morning routine. Maybe it's the time you spend on your phone. Maybe it's the way you talk to yourself. And instead of letting it just happen, stop and say, I choose different. Write it down, say it out loud, and then take just one action to prove your choice. Because free will is not about grand promises. It's not about saying, I'll never do this again, or I'll always do that forever. Free will lives in the present. In I choose now. And here's the truth I want you to remember. Consistency is more important than perfection. If you fail tomorrow, that doesn't erase today's choice. If you forget next week, that doesn't erase this week's effort. What matters is that you keep choosing, again and again, like planting seeds in a garden. Before we close, let me give you one more practice. Imagine tomorrow morning. Your alarm rings. You feel the temptation to stay under the blanket. But instead, you take a deep breath and say, I choose to get up. Then you get up. That's free will. Not in books, not in theories, but in your body, in your voice, in your steps. So as we finish this episode, keep this image in your heart. Free will is not doing whatever you want. Free will is choosing what matters, even when it's hard. And the more you practice, the stronger it becomes. Now I want to hear from you. Leave a comment and tell me one sentence you repeated with me today. Was it, I choose to get up? Was it, I always have a choice? Was it, no, thank you? Or maybe, I choose joy today. Write it down and share, because when you share, you strengthen your choice. And don't forget, That shy little subscribe button is still waiting. Give it some love. Make it smile. Thank you, my friends, for walking with me again. Thank you for your ears, your heart, your time. You are not prisoners of autopilot. You are the driver. You are the gardeners. You are the ones who choose. This is the Tommy Podcast from English Every Day. Bye-bye.